there is no limit on what you can accomplish, especially when God have given you the assignment and he gives you the grace to complete it. Oh, yes. I don't believe there's any limitations on that part of it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women, where we talk about challenges senior female leaders face in being happy and successful at work. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah E. Brown. So we're going to talk about something different today. I'm a Christian, and I'm also a big advocate of women's empowerment at work and everywhere else in life. And so we're going to explore today with the author, Natasha Oquendo, what does God say about women's empowerment? And so I'm really excited about this. Natasha is an enthusiastic transformational speaker, author, mentor. She's a life coach and has been in the public speaking arena for many years. She inspires persons in areas of personal development, work-life balance, self-help, entrepreneurship, and spiritual empowerment. She is the CEO of Powerful Life Institute, and she has a bachelor's degree in ministry. So she co-pastors a church with her husband, and the name of the church is Flow of the Spirit International Ministries. But she has also written a book, which is just being released this month, called Invitation to Queendom: 7 Keys, Unlock Your God-given Superpowers. So Natasha, welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I am good, and I'm so excited to be having this conversation. So I read it in your bio, but just back up a minute and tell us a little bit more about what you're doing professionally right now.
Well, I'm in the speaking, of course, and then I'm doing coaching, consulting. I help women who feel stuck and unfulfilled in life. I help them to ignite their power and to help them to reach their fullest potential. And this is in areas of ministry, in areas of life, relationships, and even business. And so it has been amazing just making an impact in the lives of women right now.
So women being stuck in their careers is what got me into my work. So this is pretty interesting, and you're going at it from different dimensions than the way I typically approach it. So I'm excited about this. But you've also written a book, and I want to know, tell us a little bit about the book and why you decided to write it.
Well, I knew that I had a powerful message and I wanted it to get out. And the Lord actually he told me to write the book. I was getting ready to put on another conference, another women's conference. And in the midst of trying to get that conference going, it seemed like everything was shutting down and I didn't understand. I said, well, Lord, why is it shutting down? He said, I need you to write this book first. And so I shut my life down and really got focused to write the book. And I wanted to help women through the process with their faith, the different things that they will encounter while they're walking in their faith, the different things that will happen. And because I didn't have anybody to really just take my hand and just really inform me, this is going to happen. And when this happens, you should do this. And to recognize these different keys, to recognize these different signs, to see where you are in your faith, to see where you need to go, right? Into your next level of faith. So it's to take you from faith to faith, as the Bible says. I also wanted to help women know that there is somebody that knows what they have been through, because I'm a woman, experienced all the things that we experience being women, and to be able to share God's perspective on how he views us and where we need to be in him.
So how does he view us?
Well, he doesn't view us the way the world views us, I will say that. And he doesn't handle us the way the world handles us. I don't know about you, but sometimes even like you're talking about in the business arena, ministry, and just life in general, it kind of feels like we're at the bottom of the totem pole sometimes. And sometimes it feels like we're overlooked. It feels like we're underappreciated, maybe, and our value isn't viewed as high as God has placed value on us. And so when God gives us this empowerment, which he has been doing it all throughout the Bible, we saw it with Queen Esther. We saw it with Jesus's mother, Mary, how he favored her. And so he has always been favoring and empowering women all throughout history. And so now when he gave me this message, he talked about it being, we were in the time of the woman. And this was a few years ago. And he showed me signs with even President Obama, his wife, Michelle, how she was in the spotlight quite a bit. And she wasn't just this silent first lady like we're used to seeing, she was more so outgoing, and she was very vocal with her role and her position. And also with the woman becoming vice president, that was another sign, how she was stepping into that position. We had never seen that before. Seeing women become millionaires and billionaires like never before. Having businesses starting from scratch and businesses being successful, being in positions, high-powered positions on their jobs, and being very successful at it. And so these different things are arising, and I believe it is because God has favored us in this hour. He is looking at us as women. He is putting the value and letting us put our value out there so people can see. Because I think a lot of times, like I say, we've been undervalued. We've been undervalued.
Well, I certainly can resonate with that. I understand that. But do you think there are any limitations or restrictions on what women can or should do and be in God's favor at the same time?
Well, when I think about the limitations, I think about, and I'm going to speak on it from two ways. Limitations are good and bad. I'll say that. From the bad perspective, we'll put limitations on ourselves with the way we think and the way we view. I don't believe that there is any limit on what we can achieve because God is with us. But I do believe that we need to respect maybe the limitations that will cause us, because we are women, we're more delicate. And those limitations that will cause us, and that's where we hear a lot of the self-care and the self-love coming into play, and being able to say no, being able to put up boundaries and things of that nature. So I believe when it comes to those things, that limitations are fine. I know when I was going through this process, God let me know I could delegate things out. I didn't have to know everything. I didn't have to be able to do everything. And so getting in that position where you can delegate, where you don't have to feel bad if you have a weakness or whatever the case. But there is no limit on what you can accomplish, especially when God have given you the assignment and he gives you the grace to complete it. Oh, yes. I don't believe there's any limitations on that part of it.
So you talk a lot about in your book about God-given superpowers. What are they?
Well, I talk about one. To me, it's one main superpower, and that is favor with God. As a woman, when we yield ourselves, the women of faith, when we yield ourselves to God and God is with us and he grants us favor, we get in that position of having favor with God, then there are no limits to what we can accomplish. There are no limits to all things are possible to them who believe, right? And so at that place of favor, he gives us different assignments and different things that we need to accomplish, right? And so in that is such a superpower. God, think about this. He has access to all over the world. We don't at one time, but he does. So that makes him super. And the Bible says that he has all power. So he gives us that power to accomplish different things while he's walking with us that we could not accomplish maybe on our own without him, if that makes sense, right?
So how will I know that God's giving me an assignment, for example?
Well, see, this is the thing. When he gives you an assignment, as you're going through that process, and this is what I know to be true, he prepares you for it, meaning you may experience some of the negativity that may come with that assignment, meaning the things that could hinder you, And a lot of times when we're going through the negativity, we don't understand it, but it's to prepare us for the assignment. It makes me think about when Jesus said that he had already been tried and tested, right? And so God tries and tests us through a little bit of trials and a little bit of challenges and a little bit of things that we may have to tweak and change concerning us to prepare us for the place. And so I knew that this was an assignment because I had been having experiences dealing with women, the good, the bad, and the ugly in situations concerning them, and then getting over into things myself, dealing with me as a woman, different challenges like being on platforms. I've been on platforms where I was the only woman on the platform before. I've been on a TV broadcast where I was the only woman. I've preached and I was the only woman on the roster. So I know what it feels like. I know the nervousness that comes. I know feeling less than or feeling, or being handled a certain way. And so all of these things prepare us for the assignment. And it's so weird how that happens. The very things that you experience and that you're going through will be the very things that you have the experience to help somebody else and impact their lives for. And so I found it to be that way that I find my assignment.
Hi, this is Sarah Brown again, the host of the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. I hope you are enjoying this episode and gaining some tips and inspiration on how you can be happier, more successful, and experience less stress at work. If you would like to learn more about how you can take control of your career and do it your way, visit sarahebrown.com. There you will be able to download a free chapter from my book, Let Your Personality Be Your Career Guide. It contains information and exercises on how you can identify your unique interests, strengths, and needs, and translate that into career goals that are just right for you. Now back to this informative episode.
Okay, so the trials and tribulations we can view as preparation for the actual assignment, but will we hear it as clearly as you heard it, that go write a book? Or are there other ways that we hear it?
Well, probably not right away, but there are other things that, like even my process, I remember I was 19 years old and my sister lived with me. I had a couple of young cousins live with me. They were young women and they stayed with me for a time. I helped them and, nurtured them, taught them some things. And this went on and on. And then as I got into salvation and got into church, the Lord had me to go to the prison, the women's prison. And I went out there and I volunteered and I ministered and stuff like that. And so I did not know that I was called to help impact women all of that time. And so when it came time for me, after being processed and going through different things, it became real solid. It's almost like he takes you on this journey to remember the different things that you've already done, because your assignment is not going to really be much different than what you've already been doing, if that makes sense.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I get it. So for women in the business world, which is primarily my audience, and particularly women of faith in the business world, what should she think about to expand her faith journey and be on alert for that assignment?
Well, I think she should be thinking about, because you know how it is. We get into something and we think about the money aspect and we think about legacy and all of that, because that is the going thing. But there comes a time where all of that you get used to that and you kind of maneuver in that. And then now you have to think about, who am I called to? Who exactly am I called to impact? Who am I called to be this leader or example to? Because if we are women of faith and God have allowed us access into the business world, well, it makes sense, because he told us to what? Be fruitful, multiply, take dominion, right? And so there has to be something specific, though, in your assignment that he's giving you, and somebody specifically, meaning certain demographic of people. Who are you to impact? Who are you to be that leader to, or that example that they can see, wow, if she's doing it, I can do it. If she's making a change, I can make a change. And so
would it be fair to say, just to be on alert to who you can help? Is it?
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Who you can serve. There's a demographic of people specifically that you may be assigned to serve. No different than then you said you were serving women who were unfulfilled and stuck.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? There's somebody that God is raising you up who's going to see what you're doing and see how you're navigating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to impact them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you have to find that specific thing, that niche almost of who you are called specifically to impact. And when you find it, you will know it because you will know them. It's almost like it will be prophetic. You will know them because you have been them.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's pretty clear. So you talked about this being the time for women. Is that what you called it?
I called it the time of the woman.
Time of the woman. So is women's empowerment a part of that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm watching God even, I don't know if we're looking at it, even within the news, we're seeing God go back and they're moving the statute of limitations for women who had been mishandled and abused and things of that nature. And they're going back and getting their cases and they're being vindicated to some degree. So we see the woman being vindicated. We see the woman being raised up. Different women are rising up, literally, becoming millionaires, billionaires, becoming CEOs and running businesses proficiently. And I believe God have empowered us because I want to say this. The Bible talks about this, and it's in 1 Corinthians 1:11. It's in 1 Corinthians 11 when it says that neither are independent of the other. There is no woman independent of the man, and the man is not independent of the woman. And reason being because God have given us this ability to conceive. And when we think about conception, we think about getting pregnant. But when you look at the definition, it means to envision. It means to envision an ideal or a plan, right? And so not only did he give us that ability to conceive as women, but he gave us the ability to give birth. So when you call a woman, when a woman comes on the scene and puts her hands to a work, it has the power to reproduce. It has the power to go to the next level. It has the power to be advanced. We're multipliers. That is in us to do. And so anytime we're involved, anytime you need a vision, even Jesus knew that with his ministry. He had women that were helping what? Advance his ministry. He had the woman at the well. She did what? Advance his ministry. The Apostle Paul, he had women who what? Help advance the ministry. So anytime it's time to go to the next level, and I believe that's why God says it's our time, because it's time for advancement.
Oh, very cool. So that's an empowering concept right then and there.
Oh,
Natasha,
yeah.
What should I have asked you that I didn't?
Well, I would say this. You should ask me to speak life into the listeners that are on here today.
Please do.
I just want to speak life. I know as women, we deal with a lot. We wear many hats, and sometimes we feel like we're going under the radar or being overlooked. But I just want to speak life into the women on here, the women of faith that are listening, and even those who may not feel like they have faith right now, no matter what's going on in your life. I decree over your life that you shall be empowered when you listen to this, and that the Spirit of the Lord will give you clarity like never before. Because you may say, okay, I have a vision, but I don't have clarity. I don't know how to make this thing come to pass. I don't know how to give birth to it. Well, I declare that you will have ideas because you have a womb and therefore you can conceive. You will have vision and you will have ideas and plans, and everything will be clear to you. Even in the workplace, you will be able to do it more proficiently. Even in whatever position you may be in, that you may maneuver in that position with opportunities like never before. I speak it and I decree it. And I speak that you won't be able to move anxietically, but that you will have peace. You will have peace as you maneuver in this season. That this season will be better and greater than any season you have ever experienced in your life. And I decree that over your life today.
And what can we say that's better than that? Natasha, thank you so much for being with me. And for those of you listening, I want to commend her new book, Invitation to Queendom, 7 Keys to Unlock Your God-given Superpower. Natasha, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
Thanks for listening to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. If you like what you are hearing, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave a review. And if you would like more information on how we can help women in your organization to thrive, then go to www.sarahebrown.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, read show notes, and learn more about our podcast guests, read my blog, browse through the books, or contact us for a chat. Goodbye for now.